What's up, guys? Welcome to the Final Drive presented by Microsoft Surface. Alongside Hayley, Elwood, Chris Hayre here with you. Chargers win 30-27 in overtime in the division in Las Vegas. Hayley, the game had everything. It starts with Justin Herbert, though. The kid is special. He shows it every week, and then he also raises the bar every week as well.
Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it. I mean, another game-winning drive for Justin Herbert. And I think when you kind of take a step back and look at these last 2 weeks overall, I know that Coach Lynn was asked about his growth over these last couple weeks. And he said, he's spreading the ball and doing everything he can to keep plays alive. But, I think we have seen a lot of growth and a lot of development from him. And I will say this, and again, I said it last week even, but I'll say it again. I think when the Raiders kicked that field goal, we all had the confidence that he was going to go down the field and get it done, because that's the sort of maturity and poise and confidence that he's shown this whole season. It's just that, and this is the story about some of the other games that they lost, the execution wasn't there, but it was there last night. And it got down to third down on the final play, but it was there. But I just think you're so right. He is so special. He's doing so many great things. You said it best, too. 2 primetime games that went to overtime. The country's got a double dose of Justin Herbert, a little free Herbert at the end.
Yeah.
And I just think, it's just so exciting to watch. And I think for him, when you watch his press conferences every week, all he talks about is just wanting to get a win, like just wanting to win. They stacked 2 in a row. Everything turned out really well last night.
We need to get t-shirts that say, "I was in. I was in."
I think that was such a great moment, too, because he's so composed all the time and just, kind of quiet, but it was so great because he freaking knew it and he was right. And he even said after the game, like it took a little second, but they called it. But yeah, that was a fantastic moment to just kind of like put the little cherry on top of that Sunday.
No question. To do it with Keenan Allen was not 100%. Mike Williams was not 100%. So to see these other guys step up, Jalen Guyton, Tyron Johnson, KJ Hill, those guys combined for 191 receiving yards. It's a testament to them, first and foremost, their growth from, what they were at the beginning of this program to where they are now. But also it's Justin and his ability to, the offense doesn't change when your stars are in there. Hunter had a really good game too.
Yeah, he did.
But you mentioned it, that overtime, there was confidence, I think, among Chargers fans that Justin Herbert was going to drive down the field and win the game. And it only took, I felt like we were watching the Raiders offense forever in that game.
Because at one point we were.
It was like a 10+ minute drive, I believe.
Almost 11, yeah.
Almost 11 minutes. To see Justin in a couple of plays hit Jalen Guyton, and if he just put maybe another yard or 2 of air on it, it would have been game over. It was just really neat to see because you and I talk about Keenan Allen and his records and everything he's doing, which deservedly so. But this is a rookie throwing to undrafted guys, rookies like KJ Hill, who really, he stepped up. He had a really good game. His best game as a pro, obviously.
Yeah.
It was just really neat to see this offense not really miss a beat.
No, they totally didn't. And I think, these are guys, when you talk about KJ Hill, obviously a draft pick, but when you talk about guys like him, like Tyron Johnson, like Jalen Guyton, these are names I will bet anyone they did not know who they were at the beginning of the season.
No.
And these are names now who I think were being questioned yesterday when stuff about Keenan and Mike was happening with their being questionable, like, oh, do we put these guys in? Because we've seen some things over these last few weeks, like on fantasy teams, And I just think, I actually think you asked Herbert this after the game because he obviously got a lot of time with them this off season. And I think we're seeing the benefits of that now, that those benefits have been reaped, that he was, he built the rapport with them because again, this was not the plan. It's said a bunch of, different times in different ways, as the Christmas song goes, 'tis the season, but it wasn't the plan for this to be the case this year. And so to have him build that connection with those guys, and I mean, the connections that he's built with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but Keenan, I mean, especially is just out of this world. But I really do think, Herbert even said it, that to get the consistent production from those 2 players, is something that is just, he said it's huge. And you really, really saw that last night. And you really saw that trust between the two, between quarterback and receiver really being shown throughout the game, but especially on that final drive. Noted that play to Jalen Guyton.
And it's what you do when nobody's watching. And in July, again, these guys are playing second and third team offense. They're just trying to get better. They're trying to make the team. First and foremost, a lot of these guys are on the bubble. Jalen Guyton, Tyron Johnson, they were not guaranteed a roster spot going into this. KJ Hill, a 7th round pick. You're not guaranteed a roster spot coming into this. So to kind of flashback to July and where they were, they didn't have an off-season program, and they were kind of just, they were buds. Like Justin was saying, they did a lot of stuff together. And you look at week 15, they're on a primetime stage winning the Chargers' first divisional game since 2018. And that's where I want to go next, Hayley. I just think it's so important. Momentum doesn't carry over from one season to the next, probably more likely than not. But I think it's a little bit different in this case because you have a young quarterback who's trying to establish himself in this league, and he's obviously doing it. They have to win division games to have any chance of making noise in the postseason and future seasons. To beat the Raiders on the road Thursday night, that's a big win. And now you have the Broncos and the Chiefs. Now, week 17, Chiefs could have the whole thing wrapped up and maybe they don't play their guys. I just think it's very important for this team to lock in, beat these divisional opponents. So when 2021 does come around, you've done it already. You're not waiting to do it.
Yeah. And I think, again, going back to this game specifically, you look at all the different things too that happened in this game. Derek Carr going out, Marcus Mariota coming in. I'm sure we'll talk some duck action in a little bit, but with that, and then you also have, the 2 missed field goals by Michael Badgley, that there was a lot of adversity and things to work through in this game. And they ended up doing it and executing through it. And I think, that's been something that, again, that's sort of been missing at other times during the season, that it's like one play here or there that literally changed the course of the game. I mean, you look at the last time these two teams met, it was that final play of the game that just wasn't executed properly. And so I think you're right. I think to get the one win, it's not sort of the elephant in the room or the monkey on your back anymore, that, hey, we've got the win. We can throw that, not stat, but that note out the window. And not have to kind of go into these games being like, oh gosh, we haven't won since 2018 in the AFC West. Like, is this going to be the day? I think getting this one is really, really huge. And again, I think just the type of game that it was for the defense to go up against a guy they did not game plan for at all, which Coach Lynn said at the end, and someone who is a very valid dual threat. And Marcus Mariota played really well last night. And for other things to happen, for the offense to then get the opportunity at the end to go down and win it, which they did. I just think that this is it's a really big win for them, even though it's so late in the season, even though there's nothing really that, statistically that you're playing for right now. But in terms of playing for your pride and your team, this is a really big one for sure.
Let's talk about the quarterback ducks. Derek Carr, when your star quarterback goes out, Hayley, more likely than not, you're thinking, okay, the backup's coming in. This is a huge advantage for the defense. They're going to pin their ears back. They're going to go. They're going to win the football game. Not when the backup was a number 2 overall draft pick and has a ton of starting experience in this league. And to have it be Mariota versus Herbert, and Herbert called Marcus Mariota one of his heroes. I mean, that's what I think is so cool. I think I want to check what the ratings were in Eugene last night for this game, because I think, if you're going to rank them in cities per capita, Eugene may have been lit.
Sky high. Yeah. Sky high. Well, I just love, and I tweeted this too, when I had caught up with Dan Fouts after the Chargers had drafted Herbert, he told me at the end, he's like, hey, we got another duck in the division. He's like, wouldn't it be great if we saw Marcus Mariota and Justin Herbert? And he's like, you don't have to guess which side I would be on with that one, although it would be hard, but you know where my alliance lies. But just like so crazy. And on Thursday Night Football on the national stage for that to happen, it was just wild. I mean, this game literally had everything. It was so nuts. And it was kind of funny because the Monday night game between the Browns and the Ravens and Browns was on another level too. And this was kind of cool in a really different way. But yeah, I mean, this was a guy who they assembled. I think it was a 10-minute, 52-second drive towards the end of the game. He was making plays with his legs. Coach Lynn said it was obviously a surprise to the defense when a guy like that comes in, especially on a short week.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is like you're cramming. You're not even, you're doing walkthroughs. You're just
That's
trying
what
to
it
make
is. You're right. It's walkthroughs. You're just trying to get to Thursday.
Exactly. You're literally trying to get to Thursday and you're trying to get bodies healthy for Thursday and all of that. So absolutely, it was a surprise and it had everything. And I'm sure Eugene, like you said, was lit and wild. I think the funniest tweet I saw was someone who said this was like University of Oregon fan fiction, because it's like two of their star quarterbacks going up against each other unexpectedly. You didn't know this was going to happen, but that was a really fun, just kind of a fun element too. And I think hearing Herbert after the game and hearing him talk so glowingly about Mariota and that kind of moment, I think you think of guys, younger players in the NFL looking up, he was asked about Tom Brady earlier this season, playing against a guy like Brady and Drew Brees and all that. But to have something so personal,
yeah,
I think was just really, really special and just a different element to this game. And I thought that was just really, really cool. And something, again, you couldn't have scripted. And it's so unfortunate, like you said, when your starting quarterback goes out, but for that guy to come in and for them to kind of have the game that they did, it was just really cool. It was fun to watch.
Just to get back to Justin for a second, when the moment is biggest, he seems to play at his best. Like last week, that throw to Tyron Johnson to set up the game-winning field goal. I go back to Monday Night Football. He threw that ball to Mike Williams down the sidelines that at least put the kicking game in a position to win the game. I mean, we just talked about Thursday night.
Yep.
578 passing yards, 7 total touchdowns, no interceptions in both of his primetime games. This is for the NFL schedule makers. Put the Chargers on primetime in 2021 more than a few times, please. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I think we know, obviously, when you kind of look at the schedules and everything like that, you can go, okay, this team doesn't have Phillip Rivers anymore. They got a rookie. They had a bum record last year. Like, we'll just sort of, piece him in, although the Monday night game was very cool. But heck yeah, I think it's very cool. We see it, because we watch all these games week after week and we watch the press conferences and the news and notes and all of that. But when you see sort of the national level of just former players in this league, analysts, pundits, get up and start tweeting and start, texting things about the game, I just think that's really cool because he's arrived. There's no way of slicing and dicing it. He is clearly the front runner for offensive rookie of the year. He is doing everything in his power to cement that for himself. And yeah, I think we probably could see some more Chargers in prime time next year because he's so fun to watch too. It's you get the ball, he's going to just rip some downfield. And that's what he did last night. And when you see people like Adam Shine tweeting, he's special, people are taking note.
Yeah, people are taking notes. Terry Bradshaw was speaking very glowingly post game about Herbert. Sometimes in this league, you win in bunches and you lose in bunches. And I go back to week 2 against the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Justin tapped on a shoulder, went in, did his thing. They led wire to wire, lost to the Chiefs on the final gun. Had they won that game, and I know this is woulda, coulda, but this is a podcast. We could talk about this.
Yeah.
Had they won that game, that confidence going into the next game and the next game. We saw this in 2018. The Chargers were 6-1 in one-score games en route to a 12-4 record. When you lose close games, sometimes you lose in bunches. And that's unfortunately what has happened to the Chargers this year. It's been good to see them win in close games each of the last 2 weeks. You want to see them finish strong. But I tell you, this team is not far off. And when we talk about not having Derwin James and Drew Tranquill and a host of guys, Brian Bulaga and Trey Turner, who they got in a trade and free agency respectively, they haven't really been together on the offensive line. Mike Pouncey before the beginning of the season out. There's been a lot of adversity from an injury perspective, and you never make injuries an excuse in the NFL. Yeah. Everybody says that, but it's the facts. Okay. I don't think this team is far off. And I think the last 2 weeks have shown it. It'd be good to close it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Hannah Storm, who I had on my podcast this week, she was talking about how excited she was to be able to watch Justin Herbert. And she said she sees a lot of sort of Josh Allen's first year in the league that's sort of happening right now. And then even she goes Baker Mayfield, like they've gotten the pieces around them. And maybe it's even on the other side of the ball, like getting some guys back, like you said, with Derwin and Drew, that now these teams are sort of being fully realized. You're seeing what the Buffalo Bills are doing. You're seeing what the Cleveland Browns are doing. I mean, they're not a joke anymore to go toe to toe with the Baltimore Ravens.
Not at all.
That's, they're legitimate, but it's just like to that point, just getting some guys back, getting some guys around him to really build and move forward. That's something that Fox talked about after the game too. This is your rookie quarterback window. This is this window, and he's extremely special and he's extremely talented, and he's the guy that's going to lead this franchise for the next however many years ahead. And I think to take this win, they've got 2 in a row now, to come back home next week, play the Broncos, and then end it in KC. I think it could be really good, even if they go, even if they split these next 2, to even just kind of rattle off 3 wins out of the final quarter of the season. That would just be so helpful. And, again, you mentioned it, who knows if momentum can carry on, but at least you've built that confidence that you can win. And I think the way that they've won these last couple of weeks says a lot too, that they've flipped the script, and they've overcome, like I said, even this game, a lot of adversity in this game where it could have gone south and ultimately it didn't. And that's for the best.
Yeah. I think for Justin to win a division game, you're going to hit little landmarks throughout the course of your rookie season. And he hit another one. He hit one last week with that throw that set up the game winner. The 53-yard pass to Jalen Guyton was just ridiculous.
Insane.
When you know that only a touchdown wins that game on that drive.
Yep.
And to do that, and to get guys like Hunter Henry, I'm going to give Hunter a lot of props because he kind of set the tone on that first drive in the passing game too. Hunter means a lot to this team as a blocker, as a pass catcher, as a leader. So you got to give Hunter a lot of credit too when guys like Keenan and Mike were down. We talked about the young guys. Then I think defensively, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Chris Harris Jr. in that interception.
Yeah.
That was a huge play. Obviously, Chargers not able to convert the field goal. But that's why you get a guy, I think it was Popper who tweeted, that's why you get a guy like Chris Harris Jr. To make a play like that. And that's when a guy like Derwin James next year, that's the kind of plays you're going to get.
I love that Chris Harris Jr. after the game said he didn't want a goose egg season. He didn't want a season without getting a pick like that. And I think another guy to mention too, Isaac Rochelle, that third down play that he had the pass breakup, which it wasn't necessarily a great pass anyway. Like they said, it might not have turned into anything, but to be able to knock it down and force the field goal attempt with time left to give your offense time to go down the field, which they did. Huge. That was really huge. That was totally huge because that was one of those plays, I think, with how much time the Raiders had spent on the field previously throughout the whole second half. And then that drive also was extremely long. We were, I think, kind of nervous. Like, is this going to be one of those times where the offense doesn't even get the ball? That I think Justin Herbert attempted one pass in the fourth quarter or something like that. And it felt almost like one of those, like a shame where, oh shoot, they should probably change the overtime rules because give the other guy a shot,
Just get him on the field.
But Isaac, just get him on the field. But that Isaac play too, I thought was really, really huge. And defensively to have guys like that make those plays towards the end, that it just showed, they wanted to win. They were going to fight to win and they were going to do whatever they could. And they made it happen.
I'm glad you mentioned Isaac because with Joey Bosa limited and eventually out of the game and no Melvin Ingram, these are the guys you talk about, Bosa Ingram. And to not have, two of the best pass rushers in the league, you need guys to obviously step up and Isaac doing things on or off the field. So shout out to Isaac.
Yep. Got to get those hashtag WPMOY plus Rochelle tweets in there. We'll be retweeting a lot, I think, on that. But yeah, that really cool. I mean, like you said, when you think of sort of your two bookend pieces, but then you have these other younger guys who are on this defense too, when they step up and make plays, it's what you want to see. And as a team and a coaching staff, it's what you want to see too, because it shows that you have the depth there to sort of, step in and take over when those bookend cornerstones go out.
Well, Chargers fans should be pretty happy. First game of week 15, a win for the Bolts. Relax, watch some football on Sunday. No stress. Your team
and Saturday.
won. And Saturday. That's right.
Too.
We got a couple of games on Saturday. Who plays Saturday again? Green Bay?
Green Bay plays the later game. It's Carolina, Green Bay in the later game. And then earlier game, we got Bills Broncos in the early slot. It's a little AFC West stuff happening.
There you go. Yeah. Chargers week 16 opponent playing on Saturday too. So check that out. This was fun. It's fun when each of the last two games end on the final drive, right? We got the podcast name. I don't know. I still got to go back and forth whether or not maybe we should. I don't know.
It's one of those, when it works well, it's great. When it doesn't, oh boy, yeah. We come on here and we're like, yep, the FD words, those make us very nervous.
Well, it was good this week. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Chargers Podcast Network, Playmakers. Listen, Hayley had an awesome one with Hannah Storm and Andrea Kramer, and it's pretty evergreen. So go back and check that out. That had to have been pretty cool for you.
It was really cool. I mean, I think for me, I said this to one of them, I think it was Andrea towards the end. When I started that a year ago, I knew what they had been doing for Amazon Prime. I literally didn't know how to get in touch with them. And I think, you do this too. When we book our guests, which we do on our own, we work our connections and things like that, but that is a totally different realm. I didn't even know. And I was super thankful that someone from Amazon's PR staff reached out, and it was just great. They were so much fun to talk to. I couldn't get them off the phone. And I say that in the best possible way.
Awesome.
As it was hard. I think it was over an hour, and then I ended up trimming it down to about 45 minutes. But yeah, that was really cool. Really excited and proud of what they're doing in this league. And they're going to be calling. I know next week there's Friday football. There's, I think, Saturday football again next week or something crazy, but they're going to be on those games, and it's a lot of fun. It's really great just to see that.
Awesome. It's a great listen. Check that out. Always appreciate you guys listening. For Hayley, Elwood, I'm Chris Hayre. This is The Final Drive presented by Microsoft Surface.